This is the Gorton Chained Library. It's one of 5 libraries that Humphrey Chetham left in his will, or tried to create in his will of 1651. He allocated £200 for 5 chained libraries in local parish churches, and this is one of the few that survives. This is from Gorton in Manchester. It was created a £30 library, this one, and then brought back here in the mid-1980s. And then more recently, I think a few years ago, we bought this from the church and it's now ours. So it's a nice thing to bring back, the chained library of Humphrey Chetham. There's only one complete one, and that's at Chetham, and there are some books from another at Bolton School. The idea of this is that Chetham created money for libraries in the churches, and what that would help is it would help create a godly clergy, a clergy who could preach because they had good books at their disposal, and that would raise the sort of educational standards, the standards of belief. These are books not really to be read. They're meant to be read by clergy who would then use them for passing on to the parishioners. They're all in English. They're all dreadfully dull. They're all sort of Puritan theology, puritanical theology, whatever we mean by that. Different sort of bits of spectrum of religious beliefs. As you can see, in a chained library, the books face outwards with the 4 edges first, and that's so that the chains and the clasps don't scratch the bindings. You're meant to be able to go to them and take them off like this. They stretch about 1 foot, 18 inches, and the idea is that you would read up here. This is one of my favourites. This is William Chillingworth's The Religion of Protestants, A Safe Way to Salvation. It's a safe way, but it doesn't mean it's the right way. This is 1638, and they're all about that sort of date, 1620s, 30s and 40s. Most of them are not particularly interesting as texts, and occasionally, only occasionally, do they tell us anything about the history of books and transmission. This is possibly the most interesting. This one of the smaller books, has some manuscript annotations. It's a harmony of the Confessions of the Faith of the Christian and Reformed Churches, 1643. But as waste paper here, you've got extracts from a ledger, and the ledger is from the early 17th century. This is 1607, and these are notes written in Totnes in Devon about the trade in cloth with France. So somebody's used bits from an old ledger as end papers in this book. The chained library is technically a public library in its own right. It's the same as we are. It's open to the public, anybody could use it. But the fact that they're in such remarkable condition probably indicates that very, very few people within Gorton ever bothered looking at these.